Hey there. Welcome to the Flute 360 podcast. I'm Dr. Heidi K. Begay, and I'm a flutist, educator, coach, and podcaster. My God-given mission is to serve you. I am passionate about guiding you, the modern-day flutist, to discover your unique voice on and off the stage. The goal of this podcast is to help you thrive, both as an artist and as a musicpreneur. Go ahead and grab some espresso, your favorite notepad, and let's get to it. Today's episode 199 is titled Tampere Flute Fest with Sebastian Jacot. Well, I really appreciate you carving out time for us.
Well, I'm here. I'm happy to.
Yeah. You probably don't even remember me. It was like 2-3 years ago. Oh, you're so...
Didn't you come twice to Cluj?
Yes.
Only one. I think you did. You came twice.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. It was very kind of you. I adore your playing and watching you teach. It's phenomenal.
Oh, you're nice.
So the fact that our circle, like we're coming full circle and we get to actually sit down and talk, because the one time in Cluj, I couldn't even get near you because you were swarmed by all of these flutists. And I was like, oh my gosh, there is no way. I mean, you're a rock star.
But that's what some people say. I don't know. I play the flute. It's difficult to be a rock star when you play the flute, isn't it?
Yeah. But
no, but
yeah.
in Cluj, it was always, it's such a nice organized event, because it's true that I remember when I was a kid, when I was doing competition, I would get a 30-second comment on my round, on my performance, and I would always be left with nothing.
Yeah.
I mean, I know what I felt, but apparently the comments I was getting was always kind of random and generic, and it never really helped. And I always thought that competitions were actually something to help you grow, and not out of 200 people who are going to go to a competition, one is going to have a first prize. So, I mean, I never went to a competition hoping to win it. I always went there hoping to get as far as possible, but for myself to, if you can get yourself prepared mentally, physically, and with your heart as well, like you're physically and with your heart, you can be there the whole time, then you learn something. But of course you want someone to give you some kind of honest feedback on what they saw in you. And that's why this competition in Cluj is super, because we get to actually exchange with the participants.
Yeah. And it's so crazy for me to see this like full circle moment, because in the moment I thought, oh my goodness, I can't even like part the crowds to get to Sebastian. And now I get to sit down and have some tea and just really relax and get to know you better.
Yeah, well, good things happen to those who know how to wait, the patient ones.
Oh.
Who keep going at it, never giving up.
Oh, thank you. I don't know if I'm always patient, but this time around it paid off.
Yeah, but patient on the long term, on the small things, boy, it doesn't matter so much.
There you go. Yeah, I like that. So you are one of the phenomenal guest artists through Tampere, and I'm curious how your path crossed with Beatrice.
You see, I thought I was a bit unprepared. How did our path cross with Beatrice? I've actually never met her.
Oh, okay.
In person. I actually have never spoken to her in person. We've had a couple of email exchanges, messages, a couple of phone calls. That she's friend with also Alexis, which I've worked with on another competition in Japan with other common friends. And I know Alexis, of course, we've seen each other more than once, but since he's close to Beatrice now, I guess it did its small circle there. I'm not sure how it... What? Nice. Okay. I like that. I've never done a podcast before, actually. I've always heard of it, but never done one.
Oh, cool. I like that I'm your first. That's great. Have you listened to flute podcasts, or is that something that's new to you?
I rarely listen to anything flute related.
Yeah.
To be honest, I don't know. I somehow, the flutey world, I do go to, how do you call them, the flute conventions that we have here in Europe, but I like to meet the people, and I choose where I go according to the quality of people I meet there. And the flute is always on the second kind of plan, the second stage for me. But it's changing. It's changing. It's not a fixed idea. It's not something I'm, against. It's just it never really happened, and I've always probably put too much things on my plate to be able to do everything good. So it was always everything okay. But this kind of the attention to the flute world, being present also on the flute stage, physically also expressing myself, publishing things is something I've never really done. And I feel I probably missed out on a couple of things because of it. But yeah, it's exciting to actually start.
Yay! No, and that's really, right there, what you said is so valuable, because what I'm hearing you say is you're having this like really narrow focus, and you are deciding the things that you want to pursue. And you don't have to pursue everything,
I would love to, but cannot.
Yeah, and
sadly.
you can't. There's only so much time in the day, there's only so much energy. And the fact that you're deciding, okay, I'm pursuing A, B, C, and I'm kind of focusing on that and dismissing for now, X, Y, Z or whatever it is, that takes a lot of focus.
Well, it's a way of seeing it. I don't know if if I was always conscious of this focus. If it's a conscious decision, let's put it that way, I probably focus on a couple of things that I like, and then I just realize afterwards, oh well, I didn't have time for that. Oh well, whatever. And I just go on like this, not choosing exactly what I don't know how to put it exactly, because I still feel a lot of time like I'm missing out on many things, and I feel disappointed or kind of frustrated that I don't have enough time, because I would like to do more things. I would like to do more, and I feel stupid and almost ashamed sometimes compared to some other people who I see are being so much more active than I am. But I guess I'm not just the kind of people who have that energy. I don't know. I don't know. I don't dedicate much time to mental studies, like reading or studying. How do you call it in English? The academic studies, basically. I don't spend enough time on it as I would like to. I would love to know more about composers, to know more about writers, to know more about different, sections of arts, not only about the musicy bit I do with my flutes. And I'm just telling myself for now that I have the rest of my life to learn about it, but I've been telling myself this for the last 20 years. So I guess I have to get started somewhere. Well, we'll see.
Well, I mean, shoot, if you look at your career and the things you've accomplished, I mean, you're doing amazing for yourself. And if maybe perhaps like you mentioned academics, maybe because and correct me if I'm wrong, but seeing your career and your performance career specifically, do you feel like you own that hat as being a performer more so? And so that's why you pursued the orchestral auditions, the competitions. I mean, you've won almost every flute competition out there. So is that why perhaps academia really hasn't been a focus, because you're a flutist and you like to perform?
I think it has a reason, but it's turned the other way. I never felt like I had to pursue academics because, oh well, it worked without it, so why bother? It was a bit more like this, but
Okay.
yeah, every competition I did, yeah, I was lucky to win these last three. It was 2013, 14, and 15. I failed in a way at Geneva, which for me was the best audition ever, because that's the one that actually taught me everything I needed to actually succeed again in the ARD. It was a very experimental competition, let's say, because I practiced in a completely different way. I went in with a different mindsets, in a mindset I thought was the correct one. When I thought about it, it felt wrong, but I thought it was the right one. And well, I failed miserably. So I guess I was right to follow my instinct for the other ones. But everything was always kind of last minute thing. It's not as if I really said, okay, now I'm going to do competitions. I'm going to win competitions. I want to prepare for competitions. It was more like, oh, yeah, there's Kobe. Oh, the deadline is in 3 days. Well, let's see, what can I record? Well, let's try. I know, actually, in fact, for Kobe, I actually applied for Beijing competition, for the Nicole competition. And I spent a whole week, trying to make a nice CD at the time in 2012 or 13 it was 2012. I had just built a new little recording studio in my little place in France near Geneva. And I was happy to, toggle all my switches and have fun and trying to record a nice proper CD. And then I had literally 2 days left to do Kobe if I really wanted to. And I said, why not? I just threw out a couple of pieces, didn't edit the thing, sent it. And I was never invited to Nicole competition, but they invited me for Kobe. So I thought, okay, that's one competition to go to. And I practiced, let's say, a week before going there, and learned and practiced literally in the karaoke room in Kobe. That's where I practiced the whole week. And this is something I have, is this capacity of concentrating, of focusing intensively for hours at the time, but for a short period, or for minutes at the time. I learned the concerto in one night by memory. And it's not something I can do every day. It's something that on the spot, on the moment, with the adrenaline, with the need of this focus, the need of doing it. Otherwise, you just lose your face. You cannot just go on stage and not knowing it by memory. So somehow things come together. But it happens by episodes like this. In between, it's kind of vague. It's not, if I'm not given a proper task, a specific task, I'm pretty bad at assigning them to myself. So I guess that's why I keep myself busy. That's why I keep saying yes to everything that comes my way. So it gives me some kind of direction. And over the years, I probably had to learn to say no to a couple of things too. But yeah, even now, it's still difficult.
Yeah. Saying no is hard, especially if you do like to stay busy. And I agree completely. I'm pretty bad and I can get pretty lazy if I don't say yes to things. If things aren't like on my calendar, on my things to do list, if I don't see it and put it down to hold me accountable, beach all day, right?
Exactly. Well, lucky you have beach all day, because I have rain all day here, but
well, yeah, I'd have to drive to the beach, but Netflix or it could be pretty bad. Oh shoot. So kind of going back to Romania, when I watched you teach in a masterclass, the one thing that really drew my ears and my eyes to your teaching was the fact that you were helping students to incorporate movement and incorporate their body into their performance.
Yeah.
And so I'm curious, did that stem from a particular teacher, or is that something that you started doing within your own practicing? Because I completely agree with you. Before I was a flutist, I was a ballerina. And so being in my body and responding to the music really does help me to feel more connected, not only to the music, but to my instrument. And so I was just kind of curious to get inside of your brain on this topic.
Okay, let's dive.
Okay.
So it's something that I've probably observed from years of taking lesson, going and watch masterclasses. Not that I've done it so much, but it's nothing that was never taught to me, which I regret in a way. I would have loved to have teacher explain the body language, the implication of the body in the music making. Because at the end of the day, we are on stage, we are actually present as a body, we are standing on stage, and whatever we do physically does have an influence somewhere. The first person who said a phrase about the body language was Romain Guyot, which is the principal clarinet of the Orchestre de Chambre d'Europe, and he's also a teacher at the Geneva Conservatory. And he was just speaking to one of his students, saying, when he was saying, when I see someone walking on stage for an audition or a competition, I know from the way they walk on stage and the way they tune, but especially the way they walk on stage, if they're going to succeed or not. And I found it a bit arrogant or judgmental or a bit, narrow-minded in a way, because you cannot judge someone by the way he looks. By the way he looks, no. But it's true, by the way he walks, what you present, well, it gives an impression to the people watching you. You cannot help it. When you see anyone, the first thing you see about a person gives you a sensation, an impression. And I thought, well, then what happens while you play? You actually give an impression the whole time. It's something that you continuously show, is yourself, your body. And then I let it rest for a few years. But I realized that not only I think it's important to control the way you move for the audience, but actually more so for yourself. If you think of putting on a very smiley face, you make your biggest smile and you try to convince someone that you're completely depressed and completely sad. I'm so sad. It just won't work. The same thing, if you make your face completely down, you say, I'm so happy. It just won't work. It's impossible. You cannot physically, you cannot feel happy if you make a sad face. I mean, I don't know you, but I cannot. I possibly can't do it. And most of the students I've tried these kind of silly exercises with also can't. And so it's something to tap into your own personality, your soul, your heart. You connect an idea. You say, okay, sad. So sad represents down. But okay, then sad for the face is down with the lips and with the eyes a little bit. And you start speaking a bit lower. And you breathe with a more shallow depth. I mean, you don't really breathe quickly. Everything is a bit slower. Then the shoulders droop a little bit. And you move slower. And this, you can apply it to the flute. You take all this body language and you think of a sad movement that you want to play. And I say sad to say, yeah, black and white, happy and sad. Of course, you can have a sad moment in the present, remembering a happy memory of the past. That makes you sad now, and you can complete it with a whole other kind of colors and atmospheres and moods and emotions and sensations, taste and smells and everything you want to invent around it. But to start the root of this sensation, let's call it sad, well, you observe your body first. And I think it's kind of what actors probably have to do when they want to find a proper, expression. They have to observe themselves when they are in this emotional sensation naturally. So when you get angry and you yell at someone, when you express yourself, your voice is not pure, it's not perfect, it cracks, you start spitting, or you choke yourself like by screaming too much, you become quite ugly. Usually it's not the most elegant way of presenting yourself. And so when you're playing a piece that is and should sound angry, you can no longer aim at putting out the perfect sound, a pretty vibrato, a nice posture. It has to become ugly in a way. And you have to find this ugliness. And the thing is, it's not the result that comes out that is important when you practice, but it's the connection between your idea and the result, the physical results. And to make this connection, the bridge, you have to build the bridge. Then what's on either side of the bridge? This is always discussable. You can talk about it, and with anybody around, you can agree, disagree, but you need to build a bridge. And I think this is, for me, the most important thing, is to be able to have an idea, give it to your body, and then let your body drive. And it's not going to be the brain driving anymore. It's going to be so quick, the bridge, that the body can actually decide, okay, you see a bar written in 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. And so your body knows already that it's going to move 1, 2, 3, and the 2 is always going to be a side beat, and the 3 is always going to be an upbeat. Even if you decide to put an accent on the third beat, even if it's written with an accent on the third beat, it's never going to be 1, 2, 3 down. It's going to be 1, 2, 3 down, and the 3 is going to be up, and it's a different sensation. And then you can start to play from this, but you have to create, in my opinion, a vocabulary, a physical vocabulary. And it has to be at the beginning, of course, extremely simple. You have the down and slow for sad, the super upbeat and happy and quickly breathing and, over-articulating thing for the happy one, and then everything in between. But you start with these two opposites. You start by conducting, when you take your flute in the hand, it's the same as conducting 1, 2, 3. You do it with the flute, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, and then 1, 2, 3, 4. And this you can apply to any piece that you play, and you start with this, and you will discover that the pieces feel different when you actually conduct them instead of following them. You know, this thing of following, it's super nice when you're in the audience. But when you're on stage and actually playing, and suddenly the audience starts clapping after you, well, yeah, they're reacting. And most of the time they just disturb, which is what the body does. When you let your body follow you, usually the body disturbs most of the time.
Okay.
That's why I think the body should be leading. And very often, the body is quicker. Like reflexes are quicker than the brain, at least in my case, because my brain is maybe not that fast. But I know that my body will react quicker to anything and everything. And
Okay.
when I go to an audition, when I go to on stage for a concert, if I have taught my body to breathe in the right way or to guide a line in the right way, even if I'm not completely focused, at least my body is. And it's not, I don't have to be completely, thinking of every note I'm playing. If the body is carving the phrase for me, it gives me all the space to actually focus on the music and not focusing on the shape of the phrase with my brain. You know what I mean? Does it make sense?
Oh, completely. I love it. You could not have said any of that any better.
I probably could, but I lost myself a bit in there. No, but I don't know. It's super simple, and
Yeah.
everybody can do it. If you've
Yeah.
learned solfège, you can start from there with the flute in your hands. And everybody knows how to be happy or to be sad. Everybody has experienced it in their life in one way or another. And that's why it's so nice. It's actually, this is the moment when you start practicing, when you have a concept of sad and you want to express it in your music, but your way of being sad. And that's when you start practicing it. How do you play these Mozart concertos? With a face like this? No, it doesn't work because this face is just neutral. It's just sol, re, si, sol, la, si, la, and nothing interesting. How does it start? What does it express? Where does it go? Where does it come from? Is it one of these, now you're in the positive, you're in the present, and there was a sad past, but you try to stay optimistic, and you're holding something that is very dear, like you can think of a small baby that you hold in your hand, that maybe it's not your baby. Maybe it's one that is there that you have to protect from something that happened, was bad. So you have to be soft, you have to be tender, you're sad and happy at the same time, and a baby usually don't really rock it up and down like this until it pukes. You usually go a bit more left and right, so it's horizontal movements. You think of breathing calmly to stay calm with the baby. So again, the breathing remains calm as well. And all of this, you put it in the piece. And you start with, maybe you close your eyes, or I don't know. And a bit of hope here, question. Maybe again, another hope. And then you come back to maybe a more present moment. And all these things is part of practicing. I'm not thinking about the sound. I'm not aiming for a sound. I'm not aiming for a technique. I'm not aiming for an intonation. I'm aiming for a sensation, an idea, an emotion. And aiming at these things, I have to produce a certain sound that satisfies my judgment of these emotions.
Yeah.
And then you create a sound, then it becomes your sound.
Yeah.
If you only aim at producing the most perfect tone, the most beautiful vibrato, the nice perfect technique, the clean staccato, if you miss one of these things, then there is nothing left.
Yep.
If you present a nice frame, a nice emotion, you set up a nice mood, if you crack a sound, at least the mood, the idea, and the emotions are still there, because that's all you're focusing on. That's all you're trying to show. The rest doesn't matter.
Yep.
Of course, you should still practice and you should find a way to make your sound match what you're doing, but at least something is left. And that's how I think I faked all my way up the competitions. I proposed something, and again, also that's another word, proposing instead of imposing. This is something I think I probably said already when I was in Cluj. I know that this I discovered by listening to auditions here at the Gewandhaus. So it's been 7 years here. I've been playing in this orchestra, and we have a lot of auditions. We every week we have an audition for either an academy or how do you call it, Zeitvertrag, someone who comes for a replacement for a year. So we give them a short-time contract for every instrument. And I realized that always the people who convince me the most are not the most clear about very specific ideas, but they're the one who actually proposed me a very convincing idea, but still giving the choice to take it or not.
Okay.
They don't go 100% into it. They give me always this 10% left of margin where you go, but you turn just at the last moment. You don't go smashing into this accent with the sound, with the tongue, with the body, with the energy. You go maybe with the tongue and the body, but the energy kind of goes around it, or the opposite. But you show that you could go there, that the phrase could go that way.
Okay.
But you don't make it a big fuss. You don't really insist on it. When you play sol dum 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 dee dum bum, you don't do it like this. You do it ba dum ba dum pum dee dum bum. You make the same accent with the sound and the tongue, but the movement goes sideways, and it takes you directly to the next place. For example, we have, if we count body, articulation, sound, and I would say energy, I would count 3 tools at our disposal to express something. Well, never use more than 2 when you want to propose something.
Okay.
Use two of them, and the 2 other ones, they can stay around, they can stay guided, or they can do the complete opposite. And that way people can decide to hear your accent or not hear it. Either way, you've done the accent, but you've not exaggerated it, and it means you don't have to change your idea. You don't have to prostitute your idea to please people. You can still put it out there, but you don't disturb.
So propose, but not impose.
Yeah.
I like that. Yeah. No, I just wanted to kind of pick your brain about that more, because it was a frequent theme throughout your teaching. And when I watched you play, on stage and in different, recording venues, whether it's like YouTube, that a video has been uploaded to or whatever, like I hear what you're teaching through your own playing, and so I just kind of wanted okay. I just wanted to get inside of your brain a little bit more with that. So then what I'm hearing then is, a lot of kind of on the same idea, but piggybacking off of this, you brought it up with like the human element. A lot of 360 listeners that I talk to, they have a hard time like owning and being comfortable in their own skin. And I think a lot of what you're talking about right here would actually foster that. So that way they can almost, like you said, let the body lead, let the body react. So do you think that, of course, like minimizing imposter syndrome and comparing yourself to others and all of that, is there, I don't know, a piece of advice of really letting your artistic voice speak through and not worrying about, I don't know, just letting it shine. Do you know what I'm saying? So that way you can feel more comfortable on stage, and that way you can, I not to sound redundant, but...
Yeah, no, but there are a couple of things that definitely can help. The first thing to know is that when you get on stage, the people who are on the other side, they're there to like you. In my entire life, I've never I never went to a concert to dislike the person I was going to go to listen to. If there is anything the audience wants, is the performer to, to be them, to have fun and to give them something positive. You pay for a ticket. When you come back home, you want to be able to justify buying this ticket, or just even if the ticket is free, if the entrance is free, it doesn't matter. You go to a place to be amazed, to be captured by a story, to be told something. And so just knowing this already, you know that the audience is there to like you. Not the opposite, not here to judge you, but to like you. The other thing is that's also why I love music. I was always quite bad when I was a younger kid to express myself with words, because I could never really make a synthesis of ideas. I always had a lot of when you have to make a resume of a book, like when you have to, speak at school about a book, I would remember passages of it. I would remember, small little excerpts of it, but I never really captured the meaning of the whole book, or if there was a philosophy behind it. If you pointed it out to me, of course, I would understand it, but it was always limiting for me defining what were the most important elements, because for me, everything is always important. Anyway, to cut the story short, for me, music was the only place where I could say whatever I wanted. And nobody really understood. And people could understand whatever they wanted. So in a way, when you play music, be sure to tell your story. There is one small asterisk, a small sign on the side, of course, by following the text of your music first. Whatever piece you play is not your piece. It's been written by someone who, just like you, wanted to express himself or herself. So you have to respect the composer's first idea, and then see what it does to you, and then how you react to it. And if you don't understand the piece, then I guess you have to live a bit more and let the piece be. You get it in your head, you learn it, you learn the shape of it, the notes, the sensation, the chords, the harmonies and everything. And if you don't really connect with it, well, then you have to go search in your life for it. You're not going to find it in the text. If it really doesn't do anything, just let it be for a while. Or actively search through it and put yourself in situation, try to imagine the composer's time, when he was born, where he lived, which country, how it was to live, 150 years ago, when there was no Wi-Fi, no air conditioning, no electricity in most places, where traveling from Paris to Berlin was not an hour flight, it was more like 7 days on a horseback. I mean, putting yourself in these conditions in your head, and then try performing, feeling for the composer, and feeling the pain, because everything was about pain in this time. And if you imagine living these hundreds of years ago, nothing came easy. You had to fight for everything you wanted. The same thing when composers beat Brahms, Schumann, Schubert, Wagner, Mahler, they all suffered tremendous loss in their families, with kids, with death rate was so much higher, and for them life had of course a big value, but they also knew death much more than we do, for example. So it's completely normal to speak about it in this time. So it comes through their music. The pain comes always through. You cannot always make every piece happy. So they're going into the pain, and for the ones suffering from this identity thing, where we feel judged, we feel like we don't belong, or that we would like to be different, I can understand this pain, and it has its place in music. There are tons and tons of composers who have written feeling the same. Just go find these feelings and express them. Use your life. The more you suffer, it's a bit of a cliche, but it's the more you suffer, the more you have to say. If you can face it, if you can look at it in the eye and actually seeing what makes you suffer and how it makes you suffer, if you can put words on this sensation and these feelings, then you can express it. If you cannot put words on it, it's going to be extremely difficult to identify it, to give it a taste musically.
Yeah, you have to be able to name it.
Yeah,
I
think so.
Yeah. No, I love that. And not to totally go down another rabbit hole, but when you mentioned, of course you have to know the historical context of the piece, but then also, because that was your asterisk, that was your disclaimer, but then knowing and being comfortable to tell your story, and that's something that from right around Cluj, that's when I was starting this podcast. And until now, I'm so thankful to podcasting, because that taught me to be comfortable with my story, because I was trying to, in the early stages, sound like somebody else and use somebody else's words and somebody else's stories, because I thought I had to appear a certain way. But then at the ends of recording sessions, I'm like, that wasn't fun. That wasn't, fulfilling to me. Why is that? Oh, because I'm not putting me out. I'm not being vulnerable with my own ideas, with my own story. And then how that transfers over into the flute is like mind-blowing. And
Mm,
being comfortable with that, being comfortable with sharing how you perceive the phrase or how you perceive what the composer's telling you through the music. And then being comfortable in your own skin to say, hey, listen up. This is what I have to share. So I'm doing all this connecting in my head, and I wanted to share that with you because maybe, and then the voice, going back to what we were talking about earlier with the body,
mm,
being comfortable with, changing the inflection of your voice and getting
yeah,
really excited and being, okay with being a little quirky and dorky to describe this part of the story. And then, and just calming down and just noticing what the body and the face and the voice do through storytelling. I
yeah,
think it's all connected with everything that we're talking about here.
yeah. I definitely this physical aspect, like you say, the voice also, it definitely has an effect on the body and on the way you think.
Hmm.
It does condition you. I mean, it's the of course the repetitive aspect of something. If someone likes to complain about certain events of life regularly, then it will create this passage, this the connection to actually be able to complain quicker, to notice the thing that disturb and make you complain. But on the other side, also the other mechanism, if you focus on expressing positive things or even pain that you have, but inside of you, seeing them when they happen, and instead of hiding them by just, oh, let's go out, let's escape, or let's go for a sweet, or let's eat a piece of cake, or let's just watch some Netflix, or let's just sleep, or let's, I don't know, we find all ways of compensating. But instead of doing that, actually identifying right there and there the little thing that actually does hurt you,
Mm.
well, then you create a relationship with it. You can always go
Mhm.
back to it. Of course, you can decide, no, today I don't want to see you, but it's a choice. It's not just an escape because you're scared of seeing it. It can be a
Mm.
choice. And this is the other side of, for me, playing music, is being able to make choices and not letting choices make you. Because if you don't make a choice in a phrase, like you just take any phrase, any
Mm.
musical phrase, there is a start, there is somewhere a middle, a development, and it goes back down. Let's say
Yeah.
it is an end. But if, okay, you start, but you haven't decided how you're starting, you just let your body do automatically okay, so I start, and of course, by doing this, you make it vertical, it goes down, it crashes on top of it, and then you just react to whatever happened, but it's not
Mm.
your doing, it's just happening because you let it happen.
Mm.
If you decide, okay, of course you can decide to put an accent down. If it's your decision, it's fine. But if you wanted to start, horizontally, this would give you an endless other array of possibility in the phrasing, rather
Mm.
than just letting it happen and then you arrive at the middle and you feel like, okay, what am I doing here? I don't know, because it's not me who chose to be there. I just happen to be here now. And you can choose to, from this point on, to decide where to go, or to just let it naturally flow back down to the end of the phrase, and it's still not you doing it. And you arrive at the end of the concert, and someone asks you, "How was it?" I don't know. I think it was okay. I didn't hear any cracks from me, but you just listen to yourself passively. You're not active in your playing. You're passive, and being passive in music or in life is the worst thing. It's like taking
Yeah.
your car, you go on a roundabout, and then you never exit. I
Mm.
mean, yeah, of course you don't know if the first, the second, or the third exit is going to take you to the destination if you've never been there. But you have to take that exit once, and if it doesn't work, just never do it again. And it's
Mm.
the same with music. You never, in life, like in music, you never know what you want. But slowly, you discover what you don't want anymore.
Mm.
And it limits the amount of bad choices you can make. It's
Mm.
the same for when you play music. You try one way of phrasing, it doesn't work. Just never try again.
Mm.
But if you don't decide it, you're going to let it happen again and again, and you don't know what's not working, and you cannot avoid it because it's not you doing it; it's happening. So if you decide to make a mistake and you realize it doesn't work, then just cross it completely off your vocabulary. Never use it again. Then instead of
Mm.
having 20 choices, you only have 19. And then you go and you find, and eventually at the end, you're left with 4 or 5 solutions which actually work quite good.
Mm.
And so when you're in concerts, depending on the situation, depending on who's playing with you, the acoustic, the audience, your heart rate, the condition of your lips, if you went to the loo before going on stage or not, so how much pressure you can give to your flute. I mean, everything will influence you in making a choice or another. But at least you know you only have 5, not 20. And these 5, you know they work. You still don't know what you want when someone asks you, but you can tell, I don't want the other 15 ones. And you have these 5 to choose from. So this thing of making choices when you practice is extremely important too. And making it consciously, even if it's a bad one, it's okay.
Yeah.
Taking a wrong exit on a highway, it's fine. If it was the wrong one, just make sure you don't do it again.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, I love it. So as you are preparing for Tampere, are you allowed to kind of share with us your recital program if you want to share?
If I remembered it.
Okay. That's
No,
fair.
okay, I know one piece I'm doing. When was it? I think about 5 or 6 years ago, maybe more, maybe less. I had to go to Bangkok to play Franck Martin's second ballade, the saxophone ballade. But that Franck Martin actually arranged just a couple of years before dying, I think. He arranged it for flute. He transcribed it for flute. And I had the chance of actually playing it with orchestra. And it sounded really good with the orchestra. And I thought, you know what? It's been a while I haven't played this piece. And well, I'm going to play that piece, but with piano. And I'm scared it won't do it justice because it's not as interesting, I think, as the flute version of the ballade, the first ballade. I will have to see what we can do with the pianist, if he can save me from ruining the piece, or if he can create a whole orchestra around me. But no, this is an interesting piece to play, I think. And the rest of the program, I don't remember. I could look through my emails, but honestly,
that's okay. No, that's totally fine. That's amazing. So besides Tampere, what other projects are you working on, or any, I don't know, part of your schedule that you'd like to share?
Hmm. Well, it's been what now, 7 years. I've been in Leipzig at the Gewandhaus. And I will take a sabbatical next year.
Okay.
But in between, there were plenty of auditions and openings in different orchestras. I will take some auditions, see where it takes me. If it doesn't take me anywhere, I'm happy to just move to Italy for a year and do my own little projects. There's, since years of playing in the orchestra, I think the pile of music I want to record and perform on my own or with colleagues or chamber musicians or just solo concerts has been getting higher and higher. And I would like to have a bit more time now to dedicate to this. Everything this year, everything is changing. I think for a lot of people, because probably a lot of us have realized during this first lockdown that, we can be happy differently. We don't necessarily need work and the quantity of work we used to actually be good people. Working more doesn't make us better people.
No.
And this is part of why I think I'm happy to take a sabbatical and take a step back, but without being locked down and locked at home. So still having the possibility of performing and doing what we love doing. And I'm getting married this summer, so it's taking a lot of energy to plan this.
Oh, congratulations. That's amazing. This summer?
Yep, in July.
Okay.
It's a bit close. It's going to be in Italy, in the north of Italy, where Rebecca is from.
Yeah.
And if nothing happens with the situation in Europe, hopefully we get married by then.
Where will it happen?
In Torino, in the north of Italy.
Okay. That's amazing. Congratulations.
Thanks.
How long, if you don't mind me asking, how long have you been with your partner?
5 years. No, actually, quite exactly 5 years, yeah.
Yeah. I was with my husband for about 3 years before we got married.
Nice.
So, it's good to be friends and to date slowly without, rushing into anything.
Yeah, that's true. Especially for us, we've been doing this for 5 years, and everything at distance. She lives in Torino, I live in Leipzig, so we kind of commute to see each other, and very often actually we meet in different cities rather than the cities where we live. They're not very convenient for traveling, so we meet elsewhere. And yeah, it's again one of these things that takes you back to making choices. When you want to be with your partner, you actually have to choose to. It just doesn't happen automatically because, oh, I just finished work early. Do we see each other tonight? Of course you see each other tonight when you live in the same city, when you live close by. It's rare to say no, so it becomes a automatism, and you just assume that it's going to keep going like this. When you do this long distance relationship, it's actually quite nice to have to really want it and decide when you see each other. Makes it again a conscious choice. Okay, I'm here because I actually wanted it, not because I don't know why it happened.
Yeah, okay. Yeah. Well, fortunately, and that's not an unfortunate thing. Fortunately, I get to choose to see my husband every day because we work together. So
Well, that's a choice that was made up the stream. I mean, you made the decision before, and
yep. Yeah.
How does it work? How is it working?
It works out well. We work separately in our own offices for the majority of the day, and then we will have to come together and maybe collaborate on a few, thoughts or portions of a project together once a week or a couple times a week. But we work really well independent, and then when we have to come together, we come together. And it's funny because when we do come together as like co-owners of our businesses, we have to say kind of out loud, all right, I'm coming to you as a business owner. I am not your wife right now. I'm not your friend. And then we have dinner, and it's us, so we have to like clearly define those healthy boundaries, because if not, then woo, you could run into a lot of problems.
It is important. It's true. Like this is also some aspect of the music playing. When you work in an orchestra, you may be, best friend with your close colleagues, the ones sitting next to you. But when you're working together, they're still colleagues. And sometimes it's difficult to put aside the fact that, when you need to say something regarding, dealing professionally about, okay, today the person may be completely out of tune. You have to be able to say it without offending the person. You shouldn't be worried about it, but it's a topic that is probably next on the list of things to think about. The body language thing is one side, is one important topic that I have in my head, but this thing of the communication between colleagues is something that ruins the life of so many orchestra musicians. And it's so sad to see after so many years, people who haven't spoken to someone sitting next to them for the last 15 years, they don't speak. Literally, they cannot open their mouth one to the other. And if one does, it's just an explosion of, repressed and hidden emotions. And this is something, I don't know if you know about any school, any program that actually speaks about it, because I would be interested, honestly, to take classes on this. I don't really have problem with anyone, but it's nice to have tools to be able to explain how to behave in an orchestra, even though they're all different, but to have the tools. And this thing that you said, like, okay, when you work together, you're both business owners, you're not husband and wife when you work, and then you change this. You decide which role you play at what time of the day.
Yeah.
And I don't know. It's maybe a topic for another time, because I don't have much to say about it. But I'm just noticing around me lately too, after the COVID, many people took care of themselves. Maybe they started, updating their life a little bit, in a way, taking care of what they actually want, don't want to do, changing profession, changing jobs, changing family. I mean, people splitting up or people getting together, moving from one country to another. But it shows also in the orchestra that some people realize, I cannot take this crap anymore. And it's not about the music, it's about the people that work around you, which is 90% of a orchestra musician's life. It's dealing with colleagues.
Yeah.
Well, it would be nice to be able to do this thing of, okay, now we're colleagues. Okay, your staccato sucks, and you're literally one whole bar behind the conductor for the last half an hour. Did you notice? And you can fight all you want, but at the end of the rehearsal, you still have to go ahead and grab a beer together.
Yeah.
And
Yeah. No, I
that
think
would,
it's imperative that we start training. I think you want to call these like soft skills, how to
mm,
communicate, how to have that language, and to be able to articulate in a professional, polite way, you know, where you can have beers afterwards rather than exploding onto each other and saying things and burning bridges that you don't want to burn. It's imperative that you have that language and you can approach people in a professional way.
yeah, but also not being scared of saying something, because very often especially again in orchestra where you have such limited amount of time to express something. The conductor stops for 1 second, he starts speaking to the strings. Now okay, I have about 4 seconds to say something to the principal bassoon and the second clarinet. Which one is more important? Maybe I choose okay, second clarinet, and you just spit it at that person
Right.
because only have 1 second, because now the conductor is already talking to you and you're turning your back to the conductor, and people are saying, the conductor is speaking to you. So it's always this kind of situation where you have to be quick. And I don't know, for me, it's something that should be taught at school, in the universities, in the
Hmm.
Musikhochschule. It should be part of this orchestra excerpt class that we take, the practicing together. For me, I think it would be important to have a vocabulary that is okay to say, and just, educating younger people to say it's okay to not have the perfect tone of voice. You're also going to receive comments. You're going to be allowed to give comments, and you should just take them for what they are. It's nothing against you. It's only professional. It's only just, specific technical things. And I don't know, maybe it's unimportant and I'm making it a big topic for nothing, but it's,
No, I agree with you. And it's what I'm hearing you say, and you can correct me if I'm wrong. What I'm hearing you say is, at the conservatory, it's imperative that we teach our students how to play well and in tune and, play with the beautiful tone, all of these different things. But on a larger scale, it's also imperative to learn these skills of communication, collaboration, business, or relationship building. It's all a part of the whole. It's not just playing, but you have to look at these other components because it plays a part in your experience in the orchestra. Yeah.
definitely. And also, I don't know, I'm not very much used to the auditioning process in the United States, for example. I know that you have trials. You're offered trials easier than in Europe. For us, it's you win the audition, you get the job. I mean, then you have a whole 1 or 2 years of probation time, like trial period. But very often people want to play with you in a trial. They actually want to experiment what it is to play with you, on a human level. And this is how people choose you. So if you don't have that skill, if you don't have this communication skill, you lose as many chances as by having a bad sound, basically.
Yeah.
Um, So again, that's why I think it really is important. And very often we took also, we made this mistake, for example, here in Leipzig, where we said, okay, let's not judge the persons, let's not judge the way we feel about the person, but just the way the person plays. And it turns out after 2 months of trial, yeah, but we cannot work with that person. And it's really sad because the person can be gifted, talented musically. And it turns out that it's really a bad fit for the orchestra, and you have a whole year with that person, and it's unfair for us, but for that person too, because everybody is mistreated and feeling bad. And yeah, again, most of the thing that never didn't work in the trial periods for us was always the human aspect. It was never anything technical, because anybody who has reached a level of, already arriving at the final of any audition in an orchestra, you have a good level enough to actually play music. But you have the skills to actually share them and work with people who want to work with you. This is the next question. And I think it ought to be, explored and theorized.
Okay.
I don't know, there should be a theory about it. A book to go to, like, I don't know, but you have these books, the books for, on dit les livres pour les nuls. How do you call it? these black and yellow books where everything is explained for the dummies. For the dummies, maybe it's called the
Spark Notes.
Spark. No.
Oh,
They're
okay.
really like edited books.
I know what you're talking about. For dummies.
For dummies. Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
Okay. So
Yeah.
orchestra rehearsal for dummies, or orchestra
Yeah.
relationship for dummies, something like this.
Yeah.
That could be.
Yeah. I have seen, you are onto something. I have seen articles like in magazines regarding
Mm,
this topic, but I don't think I know off the top of my head a particular like guide or book. But I
mm.
have seen, I think Jeannie Baxtresser wrote something in a flute like talk magazine article one time, but I'm not familiar with a book that's out there.
Mm. Yeah, that's also my problem. I speak about a ton of things and I complain that nobody's teaching us anything. And at the end, I've never opened a book about it. I never even searched for a book like this.
Yeah.
I just know that I wasn't taught this at school. But yeah, if I
Mm.
searched for 5 minutes, I would find something.
Yeah, that's okay. But there are a lot of things, that are changing, and our world is changing very quickly. And the fact that you're noticing, oh, there perhaps is a void in the curriculum at the conservatories.
Mm,
Same thing, like going through degree programs and being on the other side of it post graduation here in the
yeah.
States and talking with my colleagues, we notice the same things in the curriculums here. And we have similar conversations. It may not be within the orchestral world, but
Yeah.
it's like specifically in the academic world of saying, this really wasn't taught in these different programs. Maybe
Mhm.
this, and I don't want to should, but maybe this should be something that's added into these different curriculums to bring our students success in our current climate.
Yeah.
But you don't know those things until you're experiencing it, trial and error, and then that's how we adapt and become
Of course. Of
flexible and
course. And I guess, for example, this thing of most auditions in the last 3 years have been done through videos
yep,
recording.
yep.
Every competition now is almost live streamed, or through computers and microphones. And we had to do, of course, some CD recording to send to the elimination round of some competitions, but then everything was always taking place in person. And it's true that for the last few years now, I call them the kids, but the music kids of today, they have made an amazing efforts and improvements on their skills for recording, filming themselves, and putting their material out there in a proper professional way. And they've set some standards that we didn't have before. And at the beginning, 3 years ago, when this whole pandemic started, where they had to start doing it at the beginning, the quality wasn't always there, and it was sometimes sad to see some really great musicians killing themselves basically because of the quality of recording. And I'm okay, it's a specific subject, but I guess in the next few years they will be the one coming up with tutorials and
Mhm.
programs for schools to actually teach this, because it is needed. It's things that we didn't really need at the time, but nowadays more than ever we're going to keep needing it, and it's available. It's quite easy to do, but you just have to know, and someone has to set the standards for it. So I hope all these younger people, musicians now will, create some curriculums about this.
Mm.
And sadly, they are the ones mostly who are suffering now for this lack of, education regarding the changes that we're going through
Mhm.
in this time. The conservatory that you knew and that I knew is completely not, I don't want to say irrelevant now, but it's not teaching what people need nowadays to succeed. You find yourself, facing application forms that make completely no sense compared to what we had. And a lot of people actually give up on music, on jobs, on competition, just because of
Hmm.
the kind of academic
Yeah.
things and technical forms.
Hmm.
Or we go back to the past, which is always better, right? That's what we
Yeah.
say.
Yeah. Yeah. We have options.
Yeah.
And which way will it go? Yeah.
Mm.
And speaking of the pandemic and talking about changes and being flexible and adaptable, even before the pandemic and being a teacher, when I watch my little ones in the studio and their parents are going through divorce or they're moving or some traumatic event happens, I'm always astounded that even in the little ones, like 6, 7, 10 years old, we as humans, it's inevitable. We can't adapt. We
Mm.
it Do you know what I mean? And
Yeah.
so even before the pandemic, this was something I thought about a lot, and then going through the pandemic, time and time again, it just proves itself like, "Oh, we're adapting, we're being flexible. This might not have been something that was taught to us, but what can we do?" And like you said, at the beginning of the pandemic with recordings, you're like, some of these musicians really shot themselves in the foot because the technological side wasn't there.
Mm.
But as they were learning and teaching themselves and DIYing it, doing
Yeah.
it yourself at home and, putting these pieces of the puzzle together for themselves, their recordings were getting better because they had to adapt and they had to teach themselves, especially during a time of hardship.
Yeah.
And it always astounds me that if given the right, um, even just a little bit, even if it's just a little morsel of hope or a little
Yeah.
tool here or there, we can adapt and be flexible and come out better on the other side of things.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, but often it's actually like you say in these times of hardships that people actually have to find a solution for themselves, that they actually create the most amount of quality improvements. And when it's given, of these ones now, they're going to give it for free to the next generation. But the ones who are suffering through it, they're the one reinventing the world. They're the one who actually find all the solution. And it's usually in this time of difficult times that things tend to improve and people get the best out of themselves. Because of course, when everything is comfortable,
Hmm.
you don't really need to. It's the same way like what we were saying at the beginning. If you don't say yes to everything, if you don't have anything that you must do, well, you just chillax on the couch. You don't have anything else to do. So why improve? Why push yourself? It's
Yeah.
the same for the competition. I would have never learned a concerto by memory in a night if I had not put myself in front of this challenge. I would never do it. I
Yeah.
don't. I don't think I would even be able to. I mean, it's inconceivable for me to learn a piece in one night. I could
Yeah.
never do it again. But these competition, they show you what you actually are capable of, physically,
Mm.
mentally. Not sleeping for 2 weeks straight, like sleeping literally 1 or 2 hours per day for 2 weeks.
Yeah.
I,
Yeah.
I cannot even. If I miss a couple of hours of sleep in one night, you see me the next day, and you don't want to see me the next day.
Yeah.
And in this time, I don't even know how it was possible, but you just, you go to bed at 4 or
Yeah.
5 in the morning, you get out of the karaoke club where you actually been practicing your flute until 5 in the morning, you sleep a couple of hours and you wake up, oh my God, am I late for something? You have breakfast quickly and you start practicing again. It's nothing you would actually do to yourself. I mean, to your sanely self, you would never put
Yeah.
yourself through it. But when you accept and you put yourself through this difficult situation, then yeah, you see what you're capable of.
Yeah.
And especially kids, because I don't know, they don't have this fear of, I don't know, change that we adults tend to have a bit more, because we're looking for stability, we're looking to stay solid, to not collapse, to not be unavailable. Because of course, when you make a big change in your life for a while, for a few days, maybe for a few weeks at a time, you're not the same person. You cannot attend to all the basics of life. You cannot go do your grocery shopping, take care of your flat, pay the bills, and then attend the school meeting on
Yeah.
time. You will miss half of these things when a big change happens in your life. You're not there anymore. You
Yeah.
become unstable for a while. Kids, well, I mean, unstable is a bit their nature. So for them, maybe it's a bit easier, and that's why it's so
Hmm.
impressive for us. And I don't
Hmm.
know. It's true. We probably do worry for kids a bit more than we should, because actually we're the weaker ones in some regards.
Interesting. Yeah. Huh. Yeah, I hadn't
Maybe.
yeah, no, I hadn't thought of that before. There's some really valid points there. Yeah.
You see what the podcast makes me say. Jesus.
No, it's amazing, and I love you being so honest and vulnerable and just, I know you wouldn't have it any other way, but just being your true self and just talking about these real things, I really appreciate it, and, We so appreciate your time and everything. Um, I know I'm probably keeping you. It's a little past the hour, and I want to respect your time. Is there anything? I mean, we've talked about a lot. Is there anything that you want to wrap up this conversation with, so you don't feel like I'm pulling the rug out from underneath your feet?
No,
You're like,
no.
whoa.
Okay. One last little thing. Fear. Fear is something that is very useful when you're completely left on your own, or you're in a dangerous situation. You have to learn really the basics of basics. Okay, fire burns. Touch fire, burn yourself. Never touch it again. Okay. There it saves your life, maybe. But there is a time in life where fear becomes more of an obstacle and something that is an enemy to you. And it's not fear. I mean, we learn through fear since the beginning. I mean, this thing of, okay, don't touch fire, don't run down the staircase, because if you fall, you hurt yourself. It happens once, you don't want to do it again. But then at school, it's the same thing for learning a language, learning how to speak properly. You're scared of not being understood or not understanding someone. Then a bit later, you're scared of not being included in a group, being pushed aside because, you just don't belong because you don't know how to do it. And then it's, of course, all the teachers, the parents, for any class, any sports, anything, you're always scared of disappointing someone. A teacher, a trainer, a professor, or your parents, or you're scared of being judged by your brothers or sister for being less good than them at something. So everything we do, not everything, but a lot of what we do is because of fear. Until we're 18, until we live with our parents, until someone pays for our food, our education, our roof and everything, we cannot feel there is a little bit of this sensation of we owe our parents something, even if we don't owe them anything. They chose to have us. That's one thing. But still, there is this thing, they're responsible for us, and therefore we have to respect what they ask us to do, and we learn from them. And this thing of fear is something we have to get rid of once you become adults, or even before, if possible, to know that it's okay to be scared of something you don't know, but it stops there. You're scared of it because you don't know it. So go and discover it. A new technique, a new piece, anything new. Like, I'm going back now to the music, to the flutes. We are scared of changing anything because, of course, we don't know it. It's new. It's not ours.
Yeah.
And I think the first step to help in this process is everything you've learned in the past, out of fear or in any other way, just make it your own. Because, brushing your teeth is probably something your parents tell you every day. Go brush your teeth after lunch, after dinner, before going to bed. And just to not be screamed or yelled at every night, you kind of do it.
Yeah.
Some kids love to do it on their own. I'm generalizing. It's bad, but it's just for the sake of the example. Out of fear, again, you go brush your teeth because you don't want to be yelled at. And then you leave your parents, you go live on your own. And then you're like, brushing my teeth, whatever. I don't need to do it anymore. I have no one yelling at me now anymore. And then you realize that, oh, I'm having a bad tooth, or a carie is coming. And then you understand why you have to brush your teeth. And then it becomes your decision to brush your teeth. And then you're not scared of being yelled at by anyone. It's your own decision. I want to brush my teeth because I don't want to have a carie. And I'm going to tell the next person to do the same. And that person is going to be, it creates maybe a vicious circle, but it's your decision. And if you can manage to do this for most of the things that you've learned throughout your life, put a scarf when it's cold, put a hat when it's cold, I don't know, things that people will keep repeating you, and you do automatically without even thinking, actually think about it once and make it your own. Same for the flutes. All the position of the finger, put the pinky here, keep it round. Try to understand why it has been said to you. Now you have the mental capacity when you become an adult. I mean, from 14, 15 and on, you start being smart enough to actually understand why. Of course, when you're 6, 7, the teacher keeps telling you to put your thumb round, or to put to round up the fingers, and to not cramp the thumb like this, to not break the wrists. And yeah, you keep doing it. You keep bending it until the teacher tells you, because you don't understand really why. So try to understand all these things, all these small things that sound silly, make them your own, and start building from there. And then one thing after another, you know why you're doing it. And then suddenly you're the master of your flute, the master of your music. Bit by bit, take off the fear. Make it yours.
I love that. Thank you, Sebastian.
You're very welcome. Thank you for letting me speak so much.
Oh, yeah. Well, completely the floor is yours. And it's I forgot to tell you, you're episode 199. So you are the one that's right before the big 200.
Oh la la. I like this. I actually like numbers. 199 is a nice number.
It is a nice number. Yeah. Oh, good. Awesome. Well, if somebody wanted to follow you, can they follow you through Facebook or Instagram? Or are you active on social media or not really?
Okay, I know it's a bit old style, but yeah, you can follow me through Facebook. That's still where I'm the most active. I think I have something like 1,500 followers on Instagram, but I've only posted one picture in my life 3 years ago.
Okay.
I know I will get back on it. You can still try to follow me on Instagram, since Rebecca is she's posting and sharing things, tagging me always in my own things. So she's doing it for me on Instagram, but yeah, Facebook is where I'm the most active still, because I actually understand how to use it. Okay.
No, that's great. Awesome. Well, thank you for connecting with me, and thank you for connecting with the listeners. And I can't wait to see all of your fantastic works and your contribution to the Tampere Flute Fest. So thank you very much.
I can't wait for this edition. I cannot wait to go to Tampere. I've never been there, and I see what Beatrice is doing. It's necessary, and she's doing it really in a nice way, and I think it kind of matches what we've been talking about now. I think it fits what is needed right now. What she's doing. I cannot wait to take part in this. I mean, we are taking part in it because we were already judging now the next round for the competition. Yeah. But it's a really great event. And well, thank you for organizing this podcast and having me on as well. And I guess we'll meet again, probably not in Cluj, but no, somewhere else. Somewhere else. I can't wait to see where our paths will cross in the near future, hopefully. Yeah. So then take care, and I think I'm gonna go eat something because it's past 11 here at night. Okay. It's time for dinner. Well, a bientôt, and ciao. Bye bye. Ciao, Heidi. Bye bye. Take care. Thank you so much for tuning into today's episode. I hope that the content has served you well. The thing that I would love for you to do right now is go to my website at HeidiKBegay.com. That's HeidiKaybegay.com. Go to the right-hand side of my website and you will see a tab called Subscribe. Click that bad boy and type in your information. The reason being is because I send out a weekly newsletter and it's jam-packed with value. These past 2 months alone, I have sent out discount codes on my friends' classes. I have sent out links to free ebooks and so much more. So if you're not on that newsletter, then you can't get those perks and discounts, links and codes. So go to HeidiKBegay.com, join that mailing list, and I can't wait to see you there. Thanks. Let's talk about flute.